Side chat. I don't know if this connects to the. Yeah, there's 4.
Oh, here we go.
So
There's 4 things.
you
Live
gotta go to
stream chat.
live stream chat, and then
Okay,
everything's.
Omar, I see that.
Yep.
Zach, YouTube is live, and then snipers. Got it. Oh, sick. All right, cool. Well, Terrence on says everything's working. Omar said look good. Zachary said look good. So let's just let it rip. I got a couple questions that I figured that we would at least test with this going. One of them was just like gadgets that I like, and I didn't get a chance to get a lot of gadgets together, but what I did grab was one of these little clippies from the Oddballs. This is an M-lock that'll attach to any rail, but it puts this little swivel on it, which you could attach to anything with an M-lock. And so I got this Armageddon Gear hunting chest rig. And if you look at the straps, I've got the receivers for this, so the female end, and if you click anything to it, it just pops right in and holds it for you, and it's secure. It doesn't come out. And then all you have to do is provide some force upward, and you can pull it out. So binoculars can go on here, rifles can go on here, whatever it is that you're going to use can clip into these things. And if it's on, you've got it attached to straps or to something hard. And so this M-lock, I don't have it on anything now because it's for live, and I didn't want to have it on a chassis or rifle, but binoculars. And I know that this holds the binoculars, but sometimes when you're ranging and you could stick it on here, or I'll have, here's a tripod, and I've got when I run up on a hunter, it's on the tripod leg, and I just click it to this when I'm walking, and it's hands-free, and then all I got to do is pull it off and stick it down. So, it's multifunctional gadgetry that works really well in the field, and it holds it secure and it pops off. So one of the gadgets that I kind of have on everything are these oddball adapter clips, because I put my rifle on it, I put my binoculars, I put the tripod, and then if you put a female adapter on binoculars, you can stick it onto your tripod and it holds it secure without falling off or anything. And so you can set up your gear to have a lot of these things that go back and forth. I think that in terms of gadgetry that's functional, that's very good. And, add stuff to it. Hully says, Frank, turn your mic up a little bit. I don't think I can.
I'm on max mic. Nobody, can you hear? It's not loud?
Well, I don't know, but this Hully 5223 said, Frank, turn your mic up.
How's that? Sound better?
You sounded good to me the whole time.
Let me see.
So let's see if Hully responds.
Better?
Or
better?
anybody that's watching.
Yeah, how's that sound better? I mean, I'm just not in front of the mic perfect, probably is part of it. But yeah.
I think you sound good though. And then another thing that I like that I got recently, the spur mounts, when you put in a scope and you want to level it, it's just got a little wedge that'll level it to the rings. Well, if you just go on Amazon, I just Googled it, so I don't want to advertise for this company necessarily, but I got this little wedge, which you just slide it onto your rail, and then you put this in here, and it's machined to basically just level any scope by putting it on the rail, and then you just shim it up underneath the base of the optic, and it levels it. And they have this came with a fat one like this, and a thin one like this if you've got low scope rings. But of course they don't have one that's like quite tall enough, like they won't be able to do 2.5. But
you're gonna have to get a machinist wedge, those little machinist wedges that are taller, because your mount is so high.
Yeah, this one adds about 1 inch to the base. And so if you've got a scope, here's one without there you go. You just put that wedge right up underneath the scope, and the bottom of this thing, theoretically is flat.
Mm-hmm. Flat to flat is how they check. When I went to a lot of scope companies, and Leopold was a main one that they were doing it, they absolutely check flat to flat. I
Yeah.
was in there when they did it, and they talked about it. So basically, the flat on the bottom of the scope, the reticle is adjusted based off of that. So how they're going to check if a reticle is good is they're going to put it on the flat and then run it on the combinator and all that. So they look at the flat as being the reference point.
Yeah. So I think those are cool because that didn't cost much, and it's just a wedge you shove in there. And I tested it out, works good. And the only thing that I noticed that was different is that the Hawkins rings that has a bubble level on the ring, you never know if that thing is perfectly level, but as you're tightening it, if you make sure the space is even and it's off, you can kind of preferentially tighten one side so
Yeah.
that it evens up. But um, it seemed to work pretty good in terms of bubble levels, and the space is a little bit different, but it's not skewed to one side too
Right. Well,
hard,
that's
and
why
the level is good.
the electronic ones are so much better because you have to manage the vials. So
Hmm.
anytime you have a vial, it has to be leveled and, there's maintenance to a external vial level with that the electronic ones don't have because they're sort of centering, and they you can mount them this way or that way, and things like that, where like you're talking the ring cap stuff. I mean, you have to put everything together right to make sure you get that correct because it's so tiny, you know.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
movement is
So the Seekins rings, like these. Well, this one's yours.
Mhm.
Um, these Seekins rings, they make a bubble level that attaches to the top of this thing, but you do have to tune it.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's interesting in and of itself. But what's cool about the Seekins ring is that little wedge there, because right, if you tighten this wedge between
Yeah,
the M-lock rails, like you don't even need to clamp these things
you
down.
you
It's
don't,
fucking rock solid.
and you almost have to be careful that you didn't clamp it and kind of walked away from it and got distracted in the middle. Cause I think I came back to one set and it was like working fine. And I'm like, oh shit, I never even tightened the side clamps because the side clamps then are secondary to the wedge,
Mhm.
and so the wedge holds super tight. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you have to like put in the tool and smack it out with some kind of
Yes.
mallet to get the stupid thing loose. But man, that thing is rock solid, and it's on a lot
And
of these. But
that is an important factor that Seekins does allow you an adjustment on on his vial to level it.
mhm,
And so that's always been my base complaint. One is people don't manage the level and you'll run across a lot of levels that are off center and not
mhm,
level. And
yeah,
and two, it's just that it people ignore them in a lot of ways or put them on once, mount it and forget it, and then it goes in and out of the bag, and then I'll come back over, even in class, and it's like, "Dude, do you ever check your level?" And
right,
it's off. And
right, right,
because like, it's a single the tube ones are the ones you want in a lot of ways because the tube ones are the only way you can level it correctly in most cases. If you have a pick rail version that doesn't have an adjustment, you can't level that. So you need
right.
the tube one, and the tube you're gonna rotate. Well, then it's one screw on a smooth tube that's round, and you can totally bang that out of, um, you know, space out of adjustment, and
Mhm.
throwing it in a bag or doing something like that, or even hitting it in a on a prop.
I'm
It
looking around. I've got a pile of the rail ones, and when I
Yeah,
put it on, I'll put them all across the rail,
and they're
and
wrong.
they're all different. Yeah,
Right, and that's my point. That's always been my point where, in absence of anything, you're better off not following something wrong in doing the same thing over and over versus, following something that's correct. And so that's just been
right, right. Yeah, imagine, yeah, everybody, like if you are obsessed about the level and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I have to have one no matter what," but the level's off. Now you're like, "I keep missing."
I've seen it. I
Yeah.
I totally have I used to like when everybody first started getting on the level bandwagon, and it kind of came David Tubb came around with his levels that were on the break, and he put his levels all the way out at the end of the barrel. so he could see it. You know what I mean? And we
Mhm,
did that with your stuff. Remember we were moving the levels.
mhm,
Those
I think
you
there we go.
don't see.
There's
That's
the electronic one.
you don't have to manage the electronic ones.
Right.
And so I really like the electronic ones if you're going to do anything because they self set up. They're not
Yeah.
ones that require maintenance except batteries.
I I can't get used to, like, it's distracting enough, but I have it, and it's nice for
Well, and
leveling things.
downstairs we have I didn't grab them because the weather's been crappy and we weren't home. I have 2 SG pulses downstairs from Shooter Global. I
Mhm,
have their levels, and theirs is just a big light red or green, but then you can go into the app and find and look at the numbers. They do a lot, but they have a very theirs is just red or green, and it's just a big sort of thumb-sized light that's
mm,
one or the other. So I have 2 of them downstairs because uh, a continuation of the Shooters Global timer you're running that I had you do the video and you did.
mhm.
So it connects in that system. So there's a
Man,
level.
their new one looks crazy with
I
the yeah.
I have the new levels. I have the newest levels. They're here. They
Oh,
just showed
shit.
up like last week.
Oh my god, that thing looks crazy with the a and it, like, is showing you a lot of stuff.
Yes, and you have to
Um,
go into the app to get the details, but when it's on the rifle, you can make it, red or green. You don't have to have 10 lights. You could just have the 2. It's either good or
it'd
not.
be cool if it looked like a bubble level, like, like a little circle that moved back and forth.
Yeah.
Um, Another question I got, and I've got it before, is when I'm using the Anvil 30 and I clamp it down, when I lock it, right? Because my hand's always on this, so I
Mhm.
don't take it off the
Me
swivel
either.
arm.
Right.
But when I lock it down, people have commented that, oh, well, when they tighten it, it goes up 2/10 or something like that. They notice that, when they finally lock it, the point of aim moves. And so which or do they go back down to where it was, or do they come up? The answer is it's hard to know, but what I have found is that, whatever it is that tightens the ball when you clamp on this is causing the thing to rise a little bit, but it's 2/10, so it's a very small amount. If I get the rifle 2/10 low and clamp it, it comes up to 0. If I shoot like that, it's on point of aim, point of impact.
Yeah, they're saying
If
I'm still I turned it up a little. Guys are still saying I'm quiet. One of the things with the ball head on small targets, I go under the target. I know my head is going to move the rifle that little final piece. So when I lock down, I know that my head is going to be about a point 0.5. Um, just where I kind of drop it. I mean, lately because we brought it's changed now with the ring height change, but in the past, like point 0.5. So I would go under the target a half mil, lock it, and then when I drop into it, it rises into the plate. And then I'll do the fine tune, with my head a little bit. And so I always lock under the target. I never lock on the target.
Yeah, I lock under it too, and I found that the point of aim consistency is when it's locked, not beforehand, because mechanically
Yeah.
it's actually shifting, but that's solid and hanging on to it, and then the tripod moves under recoil. So I think what you want to do is figure out what that change is going to be for you and get on target and have it when it's locked come up to it. And I did do a test today with it because somebody had asked, and Outdoor Living is saying, hey, some time ago I asked. I get the questions a lot because I like to clip in and I like to use a bag. When I clip in, I always lock low because when it's locked, that is a consistent, basically, it's taking the natural point of aim. And that's where the barrel's pointed. And I tested it today with that light Seekins bolt gun
Mhm.
with on and then clamped on and then bag and then bipod and all that stuff. And it was consistently shooting exactly where it was aimed. If I measured that offset, clamped it until it came up, and then went for it. One thing that I don't know if the interpretation is correct or not, but when you clamp into this ball head, it's taking over natural point of aim because it's locked into it.
Yeah.
And so if your body presses in too hard, then it shakes a lot. And so when I'm shooting with a tripod, although I'm bridged, I back off a lot because all I'm going to do is add error. So if you've got any wobble whatsoever, you're pressing too hard into it. The rifle took over the natural point of aim. I mean, the tripod took
Yep.
over the natural point of aim, and so you need to let the tripod do the work. But I weight the
Yeah.
tripod a lot. I put a lot of weight straight down. So if it was loose, it would go down, but it doesn't tip forward or back because I'm not leaning into the front leg. I'm simply just kind of grounding into it, but I probably add 20 pounds to
Down.
to downwards,
Mhm.
and it moves, but it maintains a consistent point of aim, point of impact. And the groups, they were pretty small. I'm trying to get it zeroed, and it's the rifle 7 pounds. With the scope, it was like 10 and a half, depending on what bipods I had on it. It's a pretty fucking light rifle, but when I clipped this in, it was shooting very small groups. And I noticed that with those light rifles, the lighter it gets, the less I mean, even trigger, I was like, man, my trigger press is getting rusty because any deviation from 90 degrees, and I was seeing it in
And then
point of impact. And I thought, shit, I got a heavier rifle and I didn't see that. But it was very exaggerated from a heavier rifle. And when I shoot a heavy rifle, it's 16 pounds, right? So it's not super heavy, but going to that light rifle, man, if my trigger press wasn't perfect, I saw it in a left and right deviation. And I
and one
thought,
of the
wow.
things too, when I lock, like right when I hit the lock and I'm sort of kind of readjusting my hand after the lock, I disconnect from the tripod for that millisecond, replant my feet, and then reconnect to the tripod because it's taking over the natural point of aim. And
Mhm.
so I'm resetting my body to the tripod's NPA. So it's really fast. I mean, I'll do it in class and slow and I'll let people see it, but it's really quick and it's really just a shimmy shuffle that I'm doing where once it's locked, I sort of let go and my arms, I can kind of get the camera. My arms kind of and just let go and then I reset it and it's really quick.
6 ounces. That's ridiculous. That's very light.
Well, but
Um,
that's what we've been talking about. That's buying the point because if you're going into that 8, 6, 4 ounce trigger, you're eliminating a penalty. You know what I mean? So you're eliminating a bad trigger press or probably a tap.
mhm.
In by lightening the trigger, it won't influence a 18-pound rifle in 6 millimeter. But we see that a lot. Where
But the lighter rifle is a good trainer, and I think, like, you know, with coaching, we had this talk last night of, if you get used to what you're doing for training, you're not getting any better. So you always want to meet the standard, but when you're meeting the standard, something's got to get harder so that it's harder to meet the standard. And if you get a lighter rifle, it will show off all of the things that were being covered up by something else, which could be the trigger, it could be anything. But if you're training and you feel like, man, I go out and I always shoot the same, make something harder. And
yeah, mix it
it
up.
could be all sorts of things. It could be, hey, if you do this in 10 seconds, do it in 9. It could be make your rifle a little bit lighter for practice. But I think that the lighter it gets, if you get good with that, then you'll be better with the heavy one. But always figuring out where that weakness is and going after. If you're training, if you're just going out for fun, then it doesn't matter. But if you want to get better, make it harder than anything that you're going to do, so that when the time comes that you're going to put your system and training to the test, it feels like an easy day. Like, shit, I do this all the time. No brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Are you
that's
able to put
I was gonna say.
consistently on the tripod? I mean, I don't know what that means, but I,
He's
I, I
asking
mean,
about your
like,
down
whether it's
pressure.
18 or
Yeah,
19 or
he's asking your
21, or is
down
it always
pressure. Do you
20?
do you feel your down pressure is consistent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just putting my mass into it. I'm just grounding into it. The weight's probably not always exactly the same amount. It's just that it's got the rifle. And so I'm making the tripod heavier with my body, and when it
And
recoils, it doesn't move as
I'll
much.
bet you adjust too, because we switch rifles so often. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Every time we go to the range, we probably have a different rifle. I'm a little more consistent than you with the Terminus, but you've been jumping rifles. But I would
mhm,
guarantee to tell Outdoor Living that you probably adjust off the first shot on how much pressure you're using. You probably say, okay, I'm putting this much pressure down. And then if you notice anything different, you adjust to there because you changed rifles. So
mhm.
I would almost guarantee there's a little bit of mental. I have a different rifle today, so my pressure's here. Where you may come up and have a heavy rifle, put just a certain amount of pressure, and it works. And then you
Mhm.
may have a lighter rifle with a certain amount of pressure that needs more. And then you're like, oh, I need a little more. I would
Mhm.
almost guarantee that it may not happen all the time, but I bet once in a while you run into that.
Oh, for sure. And I don't think that, it's not gonna change your point of aim, point of impact, but if you don't have enough, it's gonna rock up just because
Yeah.
it's gonna tilt back on the feet, but I don't want it to tip up, so I'm gonna add to this, but if I try to compensate with my chest, I notice that it wobbles more,
Yeah. Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't
The
like
more
that.
you hang you on the system, the more you're going to have a problem.
Mhm.
You know,
I mean,
we're
if there was like a bungee cord with a foot strap, I would just step on that thing and have it sucked down. And people put their backpacks and stuff like that on it. But you're just essentially just saying, look, the tripod just took the natural point of aim. I'm gonna make the tripod heavier so it doesn't come back much. So I
yeah,
can still see my impact. But a heavy rifle, if I shoot it off that, it doesn't move much anyway. So
no, no.
mm-mm. What was interesting, that I didn't, anticipate, it was counterintuitive for me, was when I put the light rifle on a bag and just shot, I thought it was gonna move more, and it didn't. It literally just didn't.
Nah.
It moved about as much as a heavy rifle.
I mean, once it's pushed into the bag and it's sucked into the bag, I mean, the bag is meant to self-level to a certain extent,
Mhm.
and then it's supposed to, absorb it almost the same. And then as long as your brake is good, right? I mean, and the recoil isn't over the weight of the rifle because your brake is shitty, then I would suspect you would get a similar movement because you're paired a brake with the caliber.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that, I was shooting paper, but it was like, stayed right where it was aimed, and
Well,
I
and the
said, "That's
higher
pretty good."
rings are doing that. You're running higher rings, right? Don't you have a super high set of Hawkins that are on that rifle now?
Hawkins making them, he's designing it, and he's gonna make 2 prototypes. What I asked him to try
But
to do
what's on
was,
there right now? You have high ones right now.
yeah, it's Hawkins, yeah.
But how high are they? 1/8s, 2/0s? What are they?
They're the 1.5 ones and then on a riser.
Oh, okay. There's a riser under them. I didn't know because it looked like two-piece rings. I didn't notice a riser on the
Yeah,
right.
first it was 2-piece rings, and then I put a riser on it after I got it set up, because the risers that I had, they had the attachment between
Okay.
the little bits.
But
Um
I'm saying that l- head up probably helps with some of the recoil.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Because we noticed a recoil difference in that head up position.
mhm.
So
Oh, for sure, right away,
yeah,
it's like,
well,
wow,
that's
the
where I'm
rifles just go
saying.
back.
So that's where I'm saying that might be a contributing factor because you're coming out of the gate with this light rifle that has higher rings on it. You rise
Mhm.
it right away. And
And
so
I just pushed the cheek piece all the way down because, um, I didn't wanna screw with that much, but yeah, I mean, as soon as you get a high ring and a upright face, you notice your rifle comes straight back, and then all the talk of the muzzle rise, muzzle rise, muzzle rise, man, I haven't seen muzzle rise since we put
no.
on high rings.
And they're asking about what's your opinion of better hunting setup, clipped in bag, tripod, tack table. I mean, we did the bagged versus clipped in video, and he's asking essentially that timing or movement on the bag versus clipped in. I can see in the hunting scenario, maybe the bag because of panning, if you were going to follow a moving animal. Although the tripods, depending on how adept you are at working the locks, but I can see somebody saying they like a bag better. I personally clip in a lot more. But we didn't notice a big variation bag versus clipped in.
No. I think like
there is a video though on my YouTube channel or even Chris's probably bag versus clipped in, and it's got
I think
Chris.
it's on yours.
Yeah.
I think, and it's on the hide for sure. I would say that the bag is a little more dynamic, and we got like maybe a tenth better shooting overall. I mean, we shot
Mhm.
50, 60, 70 rounds, and like it averaged about a tenth smaller, but it was still pretty small. But here's the thing. When you clip it into a tripod, you got something holding your rifle, and it's not going to bump off. And if you have to do something, it's not accidentally going to
Right.
fall off the bag. And
You
so
don't
I
need a
think
third
that
hand.
in some applications, it makes sense to have it clipped in for security and safety because you're going to have to do other stuff. But when it comes down to that one shot, probably slightly leaning towards the bag. But on the other hand, if you're sitting there for a long time, or you might move, or something might distract you, if the rifle gets knocked off the bag and crashes, and you could pick the whole system up and run at hunter matches, I just clip it in. And when you have to move positions, I just move it as one unit. So it's really dynamic and it doesn't slow you down. So there's some strategic stuff, but you're going to know what you're using it for. I'm not going to give you tactics and so on and so forth, but I do think that when you're clipped in, there's a lot of safety and security
And
added to that system.
it's one less thing you have to carry. You don't have to bring a bag. You know what I mean? If you clip in and know your tripod is positive, everything's good. I don't need a bag to back up my tripod because it's a good tripod. Then, but if you have a weak tripod, then a bag on the legs is usually better. So the quality of the tripod would come into play as far as if it's shitty set of legs, I'll put a bag on it. If it's a good set of legs and then clip in, well, then I don't need a bag. So there are trade-offs on weight, and then you may be glassing or doing something to that, in which the tripod, clipping in is you're going to clip, unclip, clip, and then the bag is like, why would I carry the bag then?
um, what was I going to say? Oh, tack table. I don't like tack tables because that thing sticks out, and when there's a vector there, I find that tack table is less stable when I'm actually shooting than if I just clip in the ball heads. And if I put a bag, I just put the bag right over the
And
ball head. I don't.
he's asking also about the weight, the fill, and you just did. There's a on Sniper's Hide in the articles. If you go to the hide.tv in articles, Chris
I don't know if
has
I could
a
do that.
video with 6 or 8 different bag fills. We went from the heaviest all the way down to the lightest. And I personally think something like if heaviest is say 6 pounds on a game changer, I kind of like 3 to 4 pounds a little bit better. So a mix. But Chris can tell you about what he saw with that. And there's also there's a very detailed article on bag fill to accuracy that Chris did.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get a link and stick it on here. Um, the
Yeah, and he's talking about the bog pod and the bog death grips and stuff. Those legs are terrible. The bogs are awful. And so you'd almost want to almost take their head off and just put, although their heads are usually part of it, and just put a bag on top of a bog.
mhm.
I was going to use a bog, even a primo. If you were using some of those little cheesy primos, they're not doing you any favors and stuff like that.
Mm-mm. I'm gonna try to get on my phone and text the article. Here we go.
Yeah, but
Let me get on.
on the homepage of Sniper's Hide, there's been a lot of articles and videos, and then in the Hide TV, Chris has a
Try to get
multi-part
on my phone.
um
Oops.
has a multi-part NRL Hunter video series that talks NRL Hunter, and then he has an article that backs it up so you can look at some bullet points to that if you need reference. And then he has a whole spec light, which is the fill for the game changer stuff. They gave us a bag with the heaviest fill all the way down to their lightest fill, and we had like 6 or 8 bags. And so there is a video and there's an article that says spec light fill at this weight does this, spec light fill at this weight does this, and Chris did a lot of detailed stuff.
Yeah, I
So
linked the article to the chat. So
yeah,
if
so
you
it's in
guys
the
click
chat
on
there.
that.
If you guys go check out the homepage of Sniper's Hide, Chris does a lot of articles backing up the video stuff we talk about.
Mhm. Yeah, because those bags were good. And holy cats, some of those bags are so light that you go to pick it up, and even though you know it's light, it's like, whoa, that
Yeah,
doesn't weigh anything.
I actually got to get a bag or two from you. I don't have any game changers here, but a pint size. You have like 8.
Oh
I have
shit.
none.
Yeah, they're just sitting out there. Yeah, I'll get those back to you. I
I
think
only
that
need
the
like
heavy,
2. I only
about
need like
halfway down,
yeah, I only need like 2.
the lightest ones, you kind of need a heavy rifle to really control it.
Mhm.
Or, well, let me say, I need a heavy rifle if it goes too light. But if it's light bag, light rifle, I can't keep it in an acceptable wobble zone. But that's, you're going to have to train with the equipment that you've got till you get to the level that you need. And I think that, that goes back to, it'll show you what you need to get better at. And for me, it's like, all right, cool. I need to wobble less when it's a light rifle on a light bag. But on the get light bag and the medium to medium light fill, the spec light stuff, I could shoot a pretty light bag. Um, and a pretty light rifle, 12 to 14 pounds. But when it gets lighter than that, um, and then the other thing is we took some fill out, but if you take some more fill out, it might settle in, but we didn't get that far.
Yeah, I
How much
kinda
fill?
like the mix. I like when the guys mix the fill up. Every bag from people that have a hybrid, I've always found to work really well. Now, maybe you could through the fills and like Spec Light did, you can do that same thing without mixing fill.
Mhm.
Sand and Get Light and different things they do. But like I said, I tend to like a bag that's a little bit lighter, not lightest, only about maybe 40% of full. Or
It'd be cool
wait,
if they had multiple compartments so that they didn't mix, because I think heavy, the density, it's gonna as it shakes, the heavier is gonna go underneath the
right.
lighter. But if you had like 3 compartments where you could put sand in the middle and then the light stuff up top.
Yeah. Like put a layer of sand, a layer of fill, and then the layer of sand that were in the tits there, and drop it down. Yeah, that would kind of be neat to have a compartmentalized bag. Be a lot
It
of
would,
work.
yeah, it would have to have those separate compartments though, so that it didn't just shake out like whatever. I don't know what the device is that would shake it out, but
It kind of
movement.
reminds me of like the cold tack with the really he has those compact ones that mount
Mhm.
Dustin at cold tack. He has those flat bags, and his flat bags are kind of neat that way in the way they mount up. I think he does a good job with the flat bags.
If they had some kind of Velcro on them, you could make them like a wedding cake, like the
Mhm.
different
Oh, there you
density,
go.
and you
There you go. That would be kinda
you're like,
neat.
yeah, like
Fine wedding
just
cake. Yeah. He's asking you
one inch.
which your NRL Hunter rifle weight you like.
Oh, I don't care. I think it just depends on the division. In the team division, it's always heavy. Well, heavy qualifies. You could shoot light if you want to, and I shoot AIs a lot. So at AI with a proof barrel, I always get it in around 15 pounds, and so that's kind of my go-to, unless I'm trying to get in light. And then Hunter light, um, just got to meet that 12 pounds. I shot a XLR with a magnesium chassis and a proof barrel, and it goes. But I mean, there's something to be said for mass, and so
Mhm.
if you're going to
Weight's
shoot
still a
light,
yeah,
get as close as you can to that weight limit, and it's going to be better. And in heavy, you want to get as close as you can with the right components. Because if you're in heavy and you're at a 13-pound rifle, you're at a disadvantage, I think.
for sure. I mean,
But
right
when it's clipped into a tripod, it makes no difference whether it's heavy or light. I mean, if honestly, like if you had binoculars with the clip that could clip into the ball head, and then a light rifle, and you shot the whole match off your tripod, you're not at a disadvantage at all. And I shot Hunter Light um at Surge's match uh like 3 or 4 years ago, and
Mhm.
I did it 100% tripod, and I got third place. Somewhere there's the trophy around here. It's like an axe. Um and
Oh, right there, right
oh,
behind you.
here it is. Yeah. So this was shooting Hunter Light, and see, third light. and I did the whole damn thing shooting off the tripod, and I didn't feel like I was at a disadvantage. I didn't get third place because I shot clipped into the tripod. Uh, well, I just
Mhm.
screwed up more shots than John Pinch and Matt Allwine, but it wasn't that many shots. It was like one shot between the three of us, and they're good shooters.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I mean, between John and Matt, that's
you
a
know,
heavy comp right
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
You
And
know you know.
Jake Vibert was there, and Morgan King, and Nick Godarzi, and all those guys, and I just thought, that was the time where I was like, all right, I'm going to do everything standing tripod, and then I'm going to go to another one, do everything kneeling tripod, and that's a cool match. Yeah, they did a good job. Jeff Schaefer and Serge of the Able suppressors, and also Wheels and the leg man kind of stuff. They set that up, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're into it. They have a good place out there, and I talk to them all the time. They'll always text me and give me a hard time and everything that's
That was one place where I found the targets, but they were so well camouflaged that when I got on the rifle, I was looking where the targets were, and I just couldn't see it because it was starting to get hazy and the weather was coming in. I just could not see the stupid target, and I was just dumbfounded. Like, that thing, I was looking right at it, and I just couldn't make it out. I'm just mind blown. Like I
yeah.
feel so proud of, like, oh, I'm really good at indexing, and I just could. I literally just couldn't see the target. They painted it like the rocks,
Well, I
and then
remember I was out there, I think, just prior to them doing that at that time, and he was showing me because I think he even took like the marker boards and he reduced the color. So I
mhm.
think he took like a 2-inch strip around it, and instead of a white, like they said, your sign had to be X size that points to the targets.
Well, I think they made that rule because of their match.
Probably he made them smaller. He kind of outlined them and did some weird stuff. Yeah, I remember that because I was out there.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty much they made some of the harder rules because that match like really crushed some people's
They're
souls.
asking to dry. I don't dry fire that much anymore. When I was in the rifles only days, I did. But I don't find myself dry firing as much. I'm asking if we practice. I'm a terrible practice person. I go out and shoot, and that's pretty much it. But I don't do any kind of practice at home. I'm pretty lazy that way.
Yeah. If I was going to compete regularly, and I'd like to when I can afford it again, I would probably incorporate some dry fire. But I can tell you this, for me, dry fire doesn't mean pulling the trigger at all. It's everything up to that, all the other skills. But whether or not I pull a trigger dry fire isn't a concern to me. But I do think that you could get huge gains dry
Yeah,
firing. And if
the choreography that you did in that crossfire video of where to put your gear and how to access it, I think is the better practice, is that choreography, and that's everything but the shot. So
right.
I really think like when we were doing that downstairs here in the garage with those crossfire videos, you going through that early motion of my pack goes here, my binos are here, this is here, then my rifle is here, I picked it up from here, and in your arm, basically that sort of choreography is well worth it versus just that.
Yeah, and those are on the hide too. Those are
Yes.
they were called the
Crossfire conversations.
crossfire. Yeah, and we went through that, and I think to me that's what dry fire is. And if you don't do that, then you're at a disadvantage. Like, you got to do it. I mean, the guys that don't, they're competing every weekend and they're basically doing it at a match. But you could save yourself a lot of ammunition expense by going through all that choreography to make sure that it's really carefully ironed out.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm an awful
Um,
practice person. I honestly, I don't have the competitive bug in me anymore at all. Like, it's completely gone. And so I can care less. If I shot the whole match, whatever. If I, shot this, whatever. I do not define myself by my competition score. And at this point, I don't care. And so that's why I'm pretty lazy with it. I
if
mean,
I competed in offhand shooting, I'd pull the trigger dry fire
yes,
because
yes.
it's so influential, and you'll see right away just even before the trigger goes, you'll see the reticle move and you'll know, okay, I shouldn't pull the trigger because it's already moving. If you can't keep it on exactly where you're aiming, then you got to work on something before that. But you're putting on the Sniper's Hide Cup in November, and so I think that'll be a good
Yeah, and
test of
they're
people
asking
whether they're
about like
practicing.
because you shoot 6.5 Creed, right? You're just doing
Hmm.
the heavy. He's doing 6.5 Creed more, and they just shoot the heavies, the 153. He's talking power factor.
Well,
So
30-06 going to make power factor, that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, they shoot 6.5 Creed, and they're just And now I would even go that 100 grainer and go that what's that production or what's the one that you can go in with the factory and the factory gun and do the 100 grainers
Yeah, I didn't look at the new rules this season, but up until this season, if you had a factory rifle, you could shoot factory ammo that didn't meet power factor
and the
as long
100
as it was the
grain
right caliber.
Hornady is so fast and flat. It it's there before any data penalty hits you, especially in
Mhm.
NRL Hunter. You'll never get close enough with NRL Hunter to go into the 1.5
Oh,
where the
not even. No, no.
yeah, the
Yeah,
100
that's like
grainers.
1,150 yards or
Right,
something.
right, but I would almost say if you can get away with a factory gun and then those 100 grainers, you'd probably be able to game the system a little bit, but they
Yeah, I mean,
mostly
people
shoot.
were trying to game it by going 25 Creedmoor and taking a 130 a little bit faster, but man, at that point, that that's so specific. I would just 6.5 Creedmoor, you're gonna be just perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't like I said, I don't know. I'm I we got the Walt thing. That doesn't have a power factor, right? I'm finally all caught up and paid up and
Mm-mm.
ready to go
No,
for
it's
the
the rifle weight is the division, but everybody competes together. But there's different divisions like Sporter and I don't know what, but
I went and paid. I was surprised the list of some of the people I saw going there.
mhm.
The names are
Yeah, Rusty Ulmer and
well, I
all
saw
those
that, but
guys. Yeah.
that makes sense to me because Ulmer's up in that area and likes Cameo, but like Tom Beckstrand
No,
and
he invited people that were good in their respective disciplines, but not necessarily hunter.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, Holly, we're talking the Hornady VT, the 100 grain VT, the varmint stuff.
Yeah,
It's like out of Laura's ATX, it's like almost 3,300 feet per second.
she might have broke 3,300 feet.
She
It's
may
so
have.
fast.
She may have. I
Yeah, she
like
has a
we
long
took it.
barrel on
We
it.
when we first started playing with the 100 grain VT, Chris had it. And what happened was there's a Weatherby that he has. Chris wanted to shoot an NRL Hunter with just a sling. And so I have a Weatherby hunting rifle, a 307 with a little twisty barrel, and it was threaded half inch, but I put a APA micro on it. And I said to Chris, I said, this would be a good light hunting rifle, and it had a mag um for NRL Hunter to do a sling. So I
It's
said,
literally right here, but I can't pick it up because of
yeah, because you're
YouTube.
on YouTube. But yeah, so that stuff. So we're playing with it, and Chris is doing positional stuff. We head to Cameo, and I took it, had no clue, dropped it in Laura's gun, I think it was. I did the first shot at 2,000 yards between the plates, and there's a big area at 2,000 in Cameo, and it hit right where I was holding in the dirt. And as soon as I saw it, I just transitioned over to the plate and got a second round hit with no dope with that ammo with the VT.
At 2,000 yards. We
At
have
two,
that on video too. Like
yeah, we
that
have it on
literally
video.
exists on video.
And So then we started really playing with that VT, and it's like, wait a minute, this stuff has some merit. Well, then that's when Chris, again on Sniper's Hide in the articles, there's like the 153 versus the 100, and there's data that shows you the Burger 153 or even the 158 you might have used, the elk hunting round
I
they
have
have.
it. Yeah, I have it around
Yeah, but anyway, you use
156. It's like
156.
150, or maybe it's 153.5 or
Well, there's that. There's
156.
two of
It's one
them.
of the heavy ones. Yeah.
You used the heavier, but
Yeah, 156.
what happened was the 100 grainer beat the Burger 153, 156, whatever it was, till 900 yards. So it
Yeah.
took to 900 yards for the BC and the velocity differences and all that to catch up with that 100 grain stuff. And so in drop and drift, the 100 grainers won.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy also? I don't know if it's in the article. They had the exact same zero at 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like, I've never, like, you think, oh, heavier bullet, lighter bullet. For some reason, their zero was identical at 100 yards. That blows my mind. But the 100 grain Hornady literally inspired so many little things, like, does standard deviation, where does standard deviation matter? Because the standard deviation of the Hornady is ridiculously bad.
It's super bad.
And it doesn't matter till, I mean, at 900 yards, it's like a 4-inch group.
Yeah, he's saying, I'm
The
saying,
6.5
but they,
PRC does have the 150, but
right.
6.5 Creedmoor
There is
also has
one.
some
There's
heavy
like a
loads.
box of them, but there's the 153s and there's like a box of 156s or something. But I know he did the 153 because I shoot him the 153s in
Yeah, I got
the
him here. Let me grab a
yellow.
box.
It's in the yellow jacket box. And
Um,
and so I think you can get both
mhm.
because they're trying to say it's a hunting round, the 156.
Yeah, it
So,
is. But the hunting rounds shoot just as good.
mhm.
They're equally as accurate. Yeah, I got a box right here. It's 156 burgers, and it's a hunting round. It's the EOL Elite Hunter.
There it is, 6.5
These were the
Creed.
ones.
Yeah, so
Now
we
these had like a standard deviation in the single digits, but the Hornady's like 25 or
right. I
something
mean,
crazy.
at the end of the day, if you're buying factory ammo, depending on the money you're spending and all that stuff, the burger yellow jacket box, the yellow and black boxes, they're just next level when it comes to accuracy and everything. And then when you look at the Hornada's turned into more like plinking ammo. And when we had grabbed this varmint stuff on paper and when you chronograph it, the numbers are awful. And then, they're fast, but the deviations are huge.
Mhm.
And then when Chris took him out to distance, it was like, where's the deviation? And he found the deviation didn't show up until 1.5 second time of flight, which is way out there.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, at 900 yards, the group was from 900 yards and in. So like inside of 1 second and 1.25 seconds, somewhere in there, standard deviation started to show. But inside of that, it matched the 100-yard paper group all the way out to 900 yards.
Yeah. But
Well,
that's a bit of huge.
all the ammo did to 1 second, and it was slightly different because of the speeds. But at 1 second time of flight, if you shot a group on paper, it was going to be like that all the way to 1 second distance. And for this, it was 900 yards.
And speaking of time of flight and all that, because I'd mentioned Buford Boone saw your article and liked it and all that.
Yeah.
I have the Oler 1 mile chronograph, load your BC and do everything system. It came in. So I have it here. We just have to put it together. It has it's the microphone system, but the software will give us BCs and do everything. And we should get a day or something and build that lab at 1,500 and put more plates up and then figure out what we need to create this chronograph. We're either going to have to make a square and put the mics around it, or we can make a bar and put the mics in front of it. There's 2 setups that can work. But all you have to do is shoot over this system and it'll give us all the data and it'll true and BC up your bullets. It'll tell you like it's detailed. It's this new, if you look it up, it's an Oler 89. So I have it
That's
now.
awesome. I think we should do that and put the little wind meters out,
Yeah, we totally
space them
can.
out so that we could have live, like we shoot, we see the wind, but then we have the actual wind speeds
Yes, and then
measured.
we can look at what it's doing electronically as well. It's almost, and I have it. We just have to set it up. It's like Andy McDonald's system too, the sound system to do the chronograph. The Canadian guy who has the sound shot marker.
Hmm.
There is a shot marker out there. It
Yeah,
was,
the with the 4
yeah, it was
thing.
never
Yeah.
built and never put together, but there is a shot marker system probably needs to be upgraded or whatever, but there is a shot marker that was started. We never finished it when Menchaca was out there.
Yeah. But we should, yeah, let's set that up because I think having a wind, like a grid of
Yeah,
wind
we
things
got
so
the
that we
3
could,
wind meters, and we can run those in a row, and the tripods are out there for them, so we can put a wind meter at, like, 5, 1,000, and 1,500, and one at us, actually.
or we could just use a Kestrel at us, or but if it'll link them on the same system with a timestamp, that would be really good.
They will, because they'll all be linked in the wind zone system links them. You know what I mean? So, the wind zone system, when we connect it to the tablet, we'll put all the wind meters in a relationship. So it reads them all.
Oh, man, you have no idea the level of nerd that we can get to. Oh yeah,
No, that's exactly it. I mean, we geek out in this stuff so bad. It's insane. We don't have any other really. I mean, you have hobbies because
I
you have
love it
kids.
though. I
Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah. It's
shooting.
very
Like I just, like people say, like do what you love. Well, I love this. So
right.
if I could
Mm.
support myself, I'll work to 100 because it's just I love it, man. I'll go out there with a walker and tell somebody you suck. Your fundamentals are
Mhm, mhm.
garbage.
Well, and that's where I get in trouble for it because I walk around and point out that's bad, that sucks, and everybody gets upset. It's like, ah, you suck, and it's like, why? Because I just said that sucks, and
That's funny.
yeah, yeah.
Man,
So
I completely brain farted something that I thought was going to be really cool. So let me think about it. But those were the questions that were like pressing, and I was like, okay, I'm like feeling really sleepy. But I did a really good test today, zeroing that light rifle. I tested a bunch of ammo. Then did point of aim, point of impact shifts with clipped in bag, prone, modified prone, and then off the bags. And
I want to go out, but now I got tomorrow morning. Leah Photo's calling me about tripods and stuff, and I got to do a video conference call with Leah Photo. But
well, the weather's going to be nice till Monday. So the
yes,
weekend,
well, Saturday for sure we can go out. I
it's the
definitely,
nicest day too, I
yeah, we
think.
should go out Saturday because I have to get the rifle put together for Walt's thing, and I got to start. I think I'm just gonna do 6.5 PRC and do my PRC and call it good. I mean, it's a light
It's
rifle.
awesome.
Yeah, why? I mean, it's only the 3 shots.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or the gas gun and just run it with a gas gun, like pew pew.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean the
Either
308
way, it's
gas.
100 grain. Yeah, 100 grain 6.5 Creedmoor in both.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do the 6.5 PRC for it. So I got to set it up. You kind of were asking about a scope, but I was gonna change that scope out on my rifle. I think I might change it, and
Yeah, I
then
don't have a good scope for. I just pulled it off the
well, I was
300
wondering because
gears.
right now on that 6.5 PRC, I have a Night Force 4 to 16 on it. And I'm almost wondering if I should put something different a little bit. I don't know because the rifle's already carbon fibered out. It's already super light. And I just don't know what I'm gonna do with it or if I should just change my what is that?
I'm trying to see if it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible. You could see it.
I used the Sugru and I put up two different reticle looks. But keep talking though. I'll talk to you about it in a sec.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of like brainstorming what I was gonna do with that rifle for Walt's match. And
Mhm.
I was kind of wondering, what direction to go. And so that was like my big question was like, yeah, what.
I mean, it just has to be light enough that run around with it's not a problem. But then also just the ability to just kind of snap shoot. I mean, that's
Um,
it. Like if you have 15x, I think I'm just gonna put it on 15 and just rock and roll.
which is why like the 4 to 16, just maybe leave it and call it good. Zach is asking, what does the system you're talking about measure the beast? Oh, wait.
High
Yeah,
speed camera calculus.
it's a chronograph. It's a chronograph. It's a sound system. So yes, it's measuring time of flight, and it's based off of the sound and the bullet passing over the microphones. It's the same as a shot marker. So think about a shot marker, except the Oler system. I'm using Oler stuff. I could actually pair it with a Garmin on the rifle and then have it communicate with the Oler system. And then the Oler software then gives you what you need. Are you shooting the Burris Extreme Hunter near Fort Collins? Which one is that? Is that the ones out by us? Burris? Where's Burris's match?
Not sure what that is.
Burris is NRL Hunter. They have a Burris by Fort Morgan. It says near Fort Collins. What range is by Fort Collins?
Is that Dorgan's match? There's some new place that, or maybe it's somebody.
But Dorgan's is out by Sterling. Dorgan's is place his property.
Well, his range, but he's gonna run a NRL Hunter on somebody's private property, I think. I don't know when the date is, but shit, if it's in Fort Collins, like I hope the dates work. But
yeah, he says it's in Fort Collins. I don't know who's because that's like where Jacob shoots up in Fort Collins.
Yeah, it's probably
May 16th.
That guy's
May 16th.
16th. Well, let me write it down. I just got to look at whether the kids are with me or not, or if we have a class. Organs NRL. All right, I got a little note. I don't know. I mean, but if it's close, then why not?
Right.
That might be the one I shoot offhand. I want to do NRL Hunter. Yeah, just slung up. I'm going to take binoculars and
Organs. He says, yeah, it's
sling. Binoculars and a sling and let her rip. Like no tripod, no bags.
Why not?
Maybe I'll bring a bag. I don't know. I got to figure out like what's the most legit. Like it'd be cool to have a single shot and a bandolier and just be like
pull it out and pop it in. Why not?
Well, I don't have a single shot.
If only a lever action would go to 800. I guess you could. They have a 5.56 one. If you can get like a 6 mil lever action to go to 800.
Yeah, if somebody's watching this that works for those companies and they can get me an accurate single shot or a lever action, I'd do it with that.
Yeah,
too.
like
bandolier.
A 6 arc lever action might get us at least close.
It's a 28-inch barrel and iron sights.
Yeah. Well, red dot, just a red dot.
Just use like an M1, just go click, click, click. And
I don't think an M1 ever did that. Like just click, click, click.
Don't they have like? Doesn't the rear sight like click up and down?
Yeah, it has. No, on
like
that
one MOA or something.
The Springfield has the one that slides up and down to go out. The Garand is the left or right, but it didn't go up if I remember right. I don't remember up in the back on it.
Yeah, if somebody wants to send me a rifle, I'll shoot it with a 6.5 lever action.
6.5. Terran's saying Henry might have a 6.5.
Send me one. I'll shoot it.
Do a Mad Pig 6.5 and then shoot an NRL Hunter with it.
I think with a single shot would be badass but I also don't have a single shot. Like a break action, just pop it in, pull it off the bandolier.
Yeah, totally.
We'll have August out there with his
Red Rider.
Red Rider. But yeah, the Hunter, I still need to get my offhand shooting better. My standard's not very good. But so what I did here is I was trying to figure out the reticle design that allows you the most visibility but still have data. So I put just 2/10, right? So this is just 2/10 to a mil. And then over here in the same spacing, I just put 0.5 mil spacing. So that's 1 mil, but 0.5 mil, 0.5 mil, 0.5 mil to see like if there was something behind it, what's the least obstructive, because some reticles are so busy you can't see anything. I think like the one that bothered me the most was the ZCO with the circles. It was so busy that like in the woods with sticks everywhere, I just couldn't see.
I don't mind the Zico with the circles because I can see through them, but like I would almost say John Pinch's 0.25 Leopold reticle, his PR1, PR2. He's old school like the 2.5s it used to be. And then
that's the best reticle I think that's out there, but you can't just take a Leupold reticle and stick it in anything.
No.
Because I've got this Leupold is we probably can't see.
My Mark 5 has the pinch reticle in it. My Mark 5 was acting like it had to go back and get looked. You can't. Yeah, you could see it.
So let me turn that on.
But it's just a dot. Yeah, it's just a dot.
Yeah. So it's just a crosshair with a dot.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. You could dial wind and elevation. I love this, but you
Well,
can't.
Jacob always wanted to do that. Jacob wanted a scope with just a center aiming point, like a bench rest scope, and nothing else around it. Forever, Jacob just wanted a dot in the middle to 0 and nothing else. And nobody would ever do one. But bench rest has a kind of a dot style that has no nothing. There's a Night Force bench rest reticle that's just plain.
I love this, but you can't make a correction
Yeah,
because
but
you
you know
can't
what
mill
they're
it.
doing though? The Magpul system that was at SHOT Show with the laser in the cradle, it beams. You put that scope into the Magpul cradle, and it beams a HUD onto the duplex. So now it gives you LED aiming points and gives you the data into that. And you only need a duplex reticle. You don't need any subtensions because it beams a HUD into your scope. You have the laser rangefinder. It connects to a cradle. The scope goes in the cradle. There's lasers that point inside the objective, and it beams your data into the scope. That was at SHOT Show, and
That's pretty cool.
they use the duplex because it's like the SIG BDX system, but the SIG had lines in the reticle, and the dots would light up on the lines because they etched it.
That's awesome.
But
Well,
the
I've been drawing out ideas, but one of the ideas sounds a little bit like Jacob's. I'm just gonna like hastily do. Actually, it's right here. It's literally here on this paper, but there's so much shit on it. I'm just gonna redraw what I had there because that's funny that Jacob had it. But it's an aim dot, and then above it there's 2/10 uh subtensions for something like, so this is your aim dot, but
Mhm.
you could, if it was, if you shot here, you'd still be able to interpret something, and then maybe have a similar thing off to the side with 2/10, but because you're going to be probably dialing, you're going to be dialing everything, so you just need a reference outside of that that you could
Right.
line it up with. Dude, I think that would be.
Because I personally like the more, and this was a thing because we started off as the Horus guys. I hated it, and we did it, but we originally were the Horus up to the H59, and then that's when we kind of left. But the more we used it, the less we wanted. And as once we started to see the reticle kind of in our head and it overlaid onto nothingness, that's when we kind of came into well, I know what it looks like. I know what I'm looking at. I understand the distance off the plate just because I've done it so many times. So I don't need that much, So I want to see more and not have so much stuff in my way. That was the mindset when we were doing so much horror stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, Horace was giving big money to every match, and there was $3,000 cash prize at every match. So we were always doing something horsey because there was prize money.
Here I've got
I had Zach's talking about a 4570. Zach, I actually had a guy when I did classes for a range here called Trigger Time who came to my class with 4570, 4590. And he shot him off. I have pictures of it. And he shot him off shooting sticks that were kind of permanent. And then we got him. He was really good to about 600, and then he couldn't do much after that.
So like if I know it seems crazy, but like if there was a horizontal line,
Yeah, yeah.
if it was on the line here, but here the bottom of this one was on the line and went 2/10, and then from here up was on the 2/10 and up for 2/10. So you would have subtensions every 2/10, but you would have vertical too, and then you could put it down here to the side. But if a shot it was here, you'd be able to interpret really quickly, but you'd be able to see a ton. And then if only the dot illuminated, man, you'd be able to interpret that really well, but see things, I think something simple like that, because
Yeah,
you have to be able to mill out to dial the difference at distance, but you're going to dial it. So you want to be able to see everything and then just move it to where it needs to go. like the facial recognition software now, if
Right.
that's in a scope, it'll be able to see where the impact was and then
And then
just tell
tell
you the
you, "Oh,
correct.
your
Yeah,
hair
it'll
go up
just say
here."
like
Yeah, yeah.
point two.
Give you a
It'll
carrot.
do the work for you.
Yeah, give
Yeah.
you a carrot. Here, hold here. I mean, that was when I did the Trigicon DARPA crap. They had it in an ACOG, and that's what it did. It basically it was a had an ACOG with a brain in a single button push. You push the button, it sent the laser out. The laser did the wind, it did the range, and it put the carrot in the HUD, and then you just put the carrot on the target. And even with a mover, it had the accelerometer in it. All you had to do was follow the target, and the carrot would jump in front based on you following the target, and it would do all that stuff. That was like a 2007 DARPA one-shot thing I did with Trigicon down in Texas, and it did all that stuff. And that's where a couple of years ago when Trigicon showed the binos that do the Doppler wind,
Hmm.
that was from our thing. So
Hmm.
when they came to Rifles Only and did that program that they did with DARPA, those binos were a byproduct of what they were doing there. Later,
Yeah, it
guys.
makes you realize how far ahead everything is. But
Yeah, a bunch of
man,
people.
I'm out. I still shoot. I put that just the duplex with the red dot on there because it's so
It's,
great. But with the 22, but I got to get better at just being like, okay, that looks like 2/10 because you need to be able to correct the center exactly, and it without a really subtle, but
mhm.
putting like a very subtle PR2 above it and to the side of it because everything's going to hit below probably, then the ability to go back would be fucking
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
Now, I don't know what happened with like, the weird thing is, so Trigicon came out with that Ventus during COVID, sorta, and I talked to Tony and all them there. Then it's vanished, right? It disappeared. Last year before, we were at Major Land in Virginia, and a company had a version of it. They had a big base station that Dopplered the wind, and then they had the binos. And when I said I want the binos, they tried to tell me 25,000 when Trigicon wanted 5. So I just laughed at him because he was like 25,000. I'm like, Trigicon had him for 5. And so yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. Maybe they're waiting for the next Doppler pulse to come out that's going to be $1,000 cheaper, who knows. But
Yeah,
yeah, they're saying
be cool to screw
Ollie's
around.
saying your reticle look like the Eye of Horus.
The I have you just spell Horus backwards, so it'll be Surah. It's the
Surah. I
Surah
like that.
reticle.
I like that Surah.
Surah.
Surah
Like,
with
what does that
Surah
mean? It's just Horus backwards
words.
because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
This one is better.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the Horus. So it's a
Yes.
Surah.
It's the
I like that.
opposite of too busy.
Yeah. Not busy enough. Right. That would be the thing. People would complain, like, why do I have to pay $400 for a custom reticle in my scope when there's no lines in it? They'd be getting ripped off. Because, like, Horus scope, you pay $400 extra in every optic it's in. That's the royalty fee, is like $400. And there's a
400 bucks
million
to
lines.
not
Yeah, but there's
not
like
see anything.
400 lines in it, so you're getting like a buck a line. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna do the Eye of Horus or the
Yeah, we have
Surah,
to pay you $400.
yes, because there's no lines.
It'll make your scope 400 bucks cheaper.
Totally, totally.
Wait a minute.
Because
That's
that is the
that's
royalty.
why I'm not good at business. I gotta pay you to use it. Wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah, that's not right. But
Just learn to use the wind, ball shinin. Just learn craft wind, and then you got the
yeah,
Trigicon in your
if you
head.
do Balchinian, he's Balchinian. Don't you get it, Balchinian?
I'll charge you 25,000. I'll teach you craft wind, or you could go on the Hunter playbook and figure it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah, yeah. But how did your mount ball work? Did you try it?
Oh shit! It's in the car. Yeah, it works really good. Um, but
Chris
it
mounted
needs to.
a
Yeah, I'll
ball
show.
to a what do you call it? Uh really
Anvil.
right anvil. He took an
Yeah, I've
anvil,
got an
right?
anvil and a ball. It's just in the car. So to get this onto a rifle, but the
Now
thing
I
that
know where all the
attaches to the
spare
tripod,
ones
I
went.
I screwed in I just went to Hobby Lobby and they had all these ball things. What the hell would people anyway?
It was a artificial potato.
Yeah. So you're for your basket of potatoes, but I screwed it together and so it gives you a perfect hand rest, but it's also the right height that shooting offhand, it put it right where it needs to be, and it's so awesome. Uh, because now you don't have to do the hip thing and be all crazy. Like you literally just lock your elbow and put it on the rail where it need on the balance point, and the rifle just fucking sits there.
Nice.
Right. I just
That's pretty good.
now I realize how much I shake. But we'll have to do a video. I'm
Yeah,
not very
tomorrow.
good at it.
Or if not tomorrow, like I said, I got to do the call with Leo Photo, and they're doing it like 11 o'clock in the morning. So that kind of kills a bit of the day. But if not Saturday, for sure, we can go out and film. So we can go film on Saturday and get it. But yeah, I don't know.
This way I could shoot and hold my balls.
And I could put the live up with the Starlink and just do Vimeo and put it on high T. See, that's the other thing too. Like doing all these weird offshoots that we've been doing, we haven't been putting the videos on high TV. We need to
Yeah.
go put them on.
But like you guys are like, oh, you guys must be. We do shit like this all the time. Like, but so then I was shooting it like this, but then I realized if I turn it perpendicular and hold it like this, it was even better.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. It
but
should be a cross. It should almost be a cross.
it was like this. I was like, oh shit. And then I kneeled, and it was like 5 shots were about 2 inches, but I feel like it needs to be better. Um, but I was really psyched about it. But I did notice that where it was, I wanted it curved under, but the magazine would hit this, so the magazine wouldn't come out because if you open this up, you could swivel it, right? And I wanted it back a little bit behind the balance
And well,
point.
and if you look up, a lot of them are L'd. If you look at the and shoot rail hand rests, many of them are L'd. They have a rod comes down, they have a flat plate, and then they have the hand grip.
So if there was something that came down and
Yeah,
then went like this, but maybe like went out and turned like this,
yeah,
like
and
a
that's how they make
corkscrew.
them. They have the little and shoots rail, and a rod comes down. Then there's a flat metal plate that comes out back towards you, and then your hand stop that you hold. So, like you said, you can extend it out a little further because of the L action, so it holds forward to the balance point. But
Hmm.
then your arm could be back against your body because because the mount is about 4 to 6 inches back from the or forward of the hand stop.
Yeah, having this on the balance point was great, but I wanted my hand a little bit
Yes.
closer. But
So
when
you
I
need
when
about
I angled
3
it, I
inches.
couldn't drop a magazine, and so then I would need to single feed instead of. So I was like, okay, well, maybe something that like curved but allowed the magazine to drop through
And a
because
nut.
it was.
You need a screw. You need a bolt to go into your fake potato.
Oh yeah, I just drilled it out and then put a screw in, and it's in the car. But
Your
the
car's
pack
like a
had two
mile away.
balls. Well, I mean, it'll take me 3 minutes to get it, but
Yeah, yeah, don't worry.
I mean, they're not going to sell packs that aren't two balls,
Maybe.
right?
Probably
I
not.
don't know. We
And
came with
you
two
know what, too?
balls.
There is. Have you ever seen the nut sack, which is like the forward grip for the ARs?
Hmm.
There you go. It's like a nut
It's like
sack.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be like a nut sack.
right. I mean, we come with two nuts. I mean, two balls, so they sell them with two balls.
We come with a
And
lot of
maybe these are like
redundancy.
nautical things for like people that like things that get